This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
A huge opportunity for us. It is a Big Ten looking football team. Their record is difficult. Obviously, their schedule is very difficult. And they played in most of the games for the first half and seemed to, struggle in the second half against those Big Ten opponents. But make no mistake about it, their O-line, D-line, skill guys are Big Ten guys, and their depth is better than ours right now, and it's going to be a great challenge for us to handle their defensive line especially. I mean, those guys play with great technique. They're well coached in the D-line. 96 is the best we've seen all year. He's it's going to be a high draft pick. 22 first is a top corner, one of the top projected corners. And but the whole D-line is very, very, very solid. And so we've got to find ways to protect Buckshot and to stay balanced somehow in this game against a D-line that's very, very talented. Offensively, they've struggled. Their 17's a quarterback, and Johnny Langan, and he's a young kid, and we hear there may be repping another guy this week some, so we're not sure exactly what's going to happen there, but they've struggled some offensively, but they have a Big Ten offensive line that looks good. Their starting tailback is redshirting, I believe, the rest of the year, and he was a very, very good player. So the receivers 18 and 83 are as talented as we faced. They've struggled somewhat getting them the ball consistently throughout the last few games, but they scare you with the way they look and the way they run. And so special teams are very, very solid. We've got a great this will be a great test for us. We're playing a team that I believe has some deeper positions than we do. The girth, the size is different than what we have faced all this year. Even Syracuse was not quite this big. The 6'5", 295 defensive lineman that you're going to face. We really haven't seen a lot of that this year, and we're getting ready to have a great test on the road at their place. We're excited about it. Our kids were excited yesterday to have an opportunity to go in and continue building this program, and can't wait to get there.
What concerns you about being able to, as far as like getting pressure on their quarterback? I mean, is that going to be a real challenge with the size of their O-line?
Yeah, I think the biggest worry we have is just the size of the O-line and D-line that they have, and not only the size, but their defensive line is extremely active and well coached. They play with great pad level, which is always that's for me, I don't like seeing that when I turn the film on. I don't like seeing D lines that play with great pad level. I'd like to that keeps you up at night, and this D line does. 96 is a problem for everybody, and you've got to figure out how you're going to neutralize him. But their whole D line, I think that's the biggest worry, is just the size of this O-line and D-line that we're facing.
You mentioned that there's a possibility that they could be snapping Cole Snyder a bit this week during practice. Second week in a row, you might not know which quarterback you're facing. What type of preparation goes into that, and does having a week of preparing that way, does that help the defense at all?
That's a difficult question. We've this morning we pulled all of his high school stuff and watched it. Just to have some familiarity, because he hadn't taken a snap this year. So it's hard to prepare for. Offensively in high school he didn't run exactly what they're running, this year. So it's hard to say how they'll use him if that's the decision they go with. This other kid has stood in and threw some good passes. It just hasn't been a consistent in their offense, and I'm sure they're thinking any day that could come, and it could, because he stood in there against Maryland in particular, and they were putting some pressure on him, and he made some great throws. So I see it in him. So I don't know, what they're thinking quarterback-wise, but we'll do everything we can to prepare for both.
You're going up against a team that has changed head coaches during the season. Have you seen much change, particularly on the offense side of the ball, and what they've done since the coaching change?
No, not a lot, other than I think they've simplified some things. They're not trying to do maybe quite as much as they did before the change, but it's still the same structures.
Coach, a big night for Buckshot and AGG on Saturday night. Is it, in a way, a relief that they've got their records now intact and can concentrate on the rest of the year with the records already?
I don't know that I've heard very little talk from anyone inside the locker room about the records, so I don't know that was something that they were stressing over or concentrating on a lot. I really don't know, but we're obviously very happy that that's happened to those two young men. I mean, that's two really milestones that may stand a while. Not many people can say they threw for 10,000 plus yards, and he's not through yet in their career in college. And obviously AGG's records speak for themselves. And I'm really happy for both individuals and their families, and happy we got to witness it and that it is done. And if they were worrying about it, they certainly don't have to anymore.
Any injury updates? And Damian King, did he get his MRI?
We have not got the results back from it yet, but he has had an MRI, and Shadro's got a groin pulled. We'll see how that comes along throughout the week. Jimmy was moved pretty well yesterday, so we expect he'll be fine, and hopefully we get Dabney back to give us depth at corner.
Now, this is a little off topic. Not sure if you've been paying attention to Demario Davis, the linebacker with the Saints, who had the Man of God headband. He was fined, and now there's I think $120,000 of people buying those headbands.
Yeah.
Were you with Davis at Arkansas State, and can you just talk about him as a player and a person?
Demario was one of our finest leaders, and it was a pleasure coaching him. He's from Mississippi also, out of Brandon, and he was part of our turnaround at Arkansas State, and was a major leader for us, and I enjoyed coaching him. Still stay in touch, proud of him. He's stuck with it. He was with the Jets for a while, and just was kind of in a so-so role, and now he's one of the leaders on that defense in New Orleans. It's fun to watch him play when I get a chance, and not only proud of the player he is, but just the way he's making a difference in that community in a lot of ways, and he's very vocal about his faith and standing up for the needy and those that are oppressed in different ways, and I'm just really proud of the person he is. And he texted me this past summer. I know I couldn't help him because it was a 7-on-7 situation, and we can't get involved with that, but he was forming some inner city 7-on-7 teams, and was just looking for a little help with that, and I couldn't do it. But that's the kind of guy he is. He's trying to find coaches and anybody that'll take these kids and make a difference in the community he's living in. So really proud of him.
So after the game Saturday, your back was feeling pretty good after walking the sidelines. How did it feel Sunday morning, and how does it feel now?
Sunday morning was tight, real tight. And I think I'm probably protecting it in different ways, and so I was tight in some places I hadn't been, my upper back and my hamstrings, and Barry worked on that some yesterday, and I'm feeling better today, but it's still tight. But man, I'm thankful. I mean, I stood the whole game, and it was not severe pain or anything, from that. So feel like I'm in a good spot.
If Shadro's unable to go in the kick return game, who are you looking at there?
Probably Seneca and Stubbs.
And then just if you could speak to Shadro's impact he's been able to have in the kick return game so far.
Yeah, I think he's super dangerous, and it was good to see him get his first one the other night that counted, and I think he's going to be in his career, here, provided he stays healthy. I think that you could be looking at a guy that sets some records of his own in the special teams world.
How do you go about preparing this team for the 4-game stretch that's coming, just all being on the road, and how much of it is just taking it one at a time?
Well, certainly one at a time is the only way we'll approach it, but I think the leadership has to start in the locker room with people like Frankie Hickson and Duff, and I can preach accountability and stressing this standard, but it has to get you win in that locker room too. And one of the things we'll do is they have mandatory, breakfast check this week because we have a 12 o'clock kick, which is totally different. So we'll be eating our pregame meal at 8:15 on the dot. And so they're going to be eating breakfast this week at 8:15 on the dot, and they should be getting in bed by 10 o'clock, which is what the expectation will be, Friday night. Whether they're asleep or not, that's where they should be. And so we're preparing the whole week for this noon kick. And then hopefully they realize what's right at their fingertips and these opportunities that we're getting ready to have on the road, and they prepare accordingly with the way we practice, the way we focus, the way we handle our academics, the way we handle our social decisions. That all of it shows that, man, I'm prepared for what's coming Saturday.
Is that what you prefer? Is a earlier kickoff, especially with a road game? I mean, you're going to be basically in and out of here and back in less or a little more than 24 hours.
Yeah, you can't you can't play early enough for me. I just soon kick it off as soon as we get up. Let's go. But I love on the road. I know at home games our fans probably enjoy night games a little more, but I love on the road game when we get an early game. So. We'll get in there a little earlier on Friday than normal, and hopefully respond well to the early kick.
Slot receiver's been one of the deeper positions this year, but if King and Shadro are both limited, what's the depth look like behind Stubbs?
Yeah, that's a concern this week, and so we, I'm calculating Demario Douglas will be ready. He's going to be a really good player. And we're trying to maintain his red shirt because of the depth we thought we had at that slot position. So he's got 3 games left that he can play in. This is why I think this is the appropriate use of the new rule. I know others have found other ways to use it, but I think this was really what all of us wanted is, man, when your team that has remained at 85 scholarship limit for a long time now, and you go through the injury bug, having a guy that can play and not burn his redshirt year to help, because he is a part of the football team, and your football team needs added depth for a given week, like we might need this week. I think this is the reason that most of us wanted this rule, and so we're prepared to use it this week with Demario or CJ or any other position that we might have need. But we're trying to be wise with it also and use it in the games that we need. We can move Shaw inside also that can help us there. So that's what we're thinking with that position.
Got a game in the New York City area, also against a Big Ten team. As you continue to build this program, is this a game that you can see, Liberty, just kind of putting that brand out there for even more people to see?
No question. I believe it's on the Big Ten Network, and so it's going to be in a lot more homes than normal, probably. And man, that's anytime you get a chance. It's actually number 21 on my ways to build a program. When you get a chance on national TV, you win, and that's it's an opportunity for us to get the Liberty brand even more exposure. I think it's growing every day, and certainly this is another opportunity to grow it.
Player I haven't seen much recently, Brady Monday. Are you intending on redshirting him?
Same. We're trying to be wise. We think he's going to be a really good player. Is it wise for us to play him in a small amount of snaps in more than 4 games, which he could help us? But we're certainly trying to, as we build, we want quality depth the next few years, and it'd be nice to have him as a freshman still. And we've communicated that with all these kids and their families, and they understand, and we're on board with us trying to accomplish that.
I think you told me on the radio after the game on Saturday night that defensively everything was an issue. As you've had time to now kind of go back and watch the tape and look at it a little more deeper, was it really just a product of rotating some deeper guys in, and then things started to kind of get away, or what was the biggest issue?
Well, number one, I'll give credit to Maine's coaching staff. They came in and did some things that we had not seen them do the entire year. They really understood kind of how we fit the run, and they used it to their advantage in the play action. We hadn't seen them 7-man protect hardly at all the whole year, and we got 22 7-man protections and off the shot plays, and they did it off of pull action, which really affects our backers. So they had a good plan. We adjusted well to the run in the second half and stopped it, but they continued to win in some one-on-one stuff with us in the passing game. And I think Scott would say it was his worst prepared game, and obviously some of it was new, and I don't think we played with much passion defensively. So I think it was just a combination of all those things, but the good thing is they were very almost embarrassed by it, and I think it will motivate them to not have a repeat of it.
I know your complete focus right now is on Rutgers, but how exciting is it for you as a coach to have a chance for a team to win 6 in a row, something that hasn't happened here in quite a few years?
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. To me, it's about just winning the next game, and that would be 6 in a row, which is great. But we're just wanting to compete against this Big Ten team and have a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. And if it means 6 in a row, that's great, because it gets us toward our goals of building this program where it's year in, year out competing to go to bowl games. And and that's this is what's next on our list in what we refer to as season 2, and it's exciting. I love going into arenas where you have an opportunity to do something that would be viewed as an advancement of your program, and that's the way I view this.